Hello and what is up guys, my name is Pixel Polish and today I'm bringing you awesome news about Soul Sacrifice. As of today, a new 85 MB patch for Soul Sacrifice became available on PSN and it will update the game to version 1.20. The patch is available in both Europe and North America and it adds a new story chapter along with a number of multiplayer and solo campaign tweaks and some minor bug fixes. There has been a lot of changes and additions, so let's go through the patch notes and I'm going to explain them as we go. In case you didn't notice, now the title screen image has changed to something else. In my opinion, it's a better image, less cluttered, more clean looking and generally more pleasant. Another change is the fact that you can actually see the version of the game right in the start game menu. So first and foremost, now we have access to the new fellow sorcerer chapter called Heretic Savior. With the new chapter comes a new ally, of course. She's called Sympatha. It's the divine arm 4-wielding sorceress that kinda resembles an ER patient / nurse. Her story is directly tied to the mysterious organization that defies the sorcerers of Avalon by devoting their lives to saving instead of sacrificing all of the monsters. I'm not going to spoil any of the story elements, so you should check it out for yourself. Let's just say that it finally sheds some light on some of the story elements that were missing from the original story. During this mini campaign you will acquire 3 new other allies after defeating and saving the monsters they were changed into. You actually have to save them to progress through the story. Also, a new map has been introduced in this chapter. In my opinion, Luna Waste, because that's the name of the map, is one of the best looking maps in the game so far. There's some interesting mechanics going on this map as well. As you can see in the video, there's a crater on one side of the map, and when the vortex inside of the crater becomes active, it will emit a weird noise and suck in everything and everyone in the vicinity. It doesn't deal any damage, but it adds some interesting dynamics to the fight. Sanctuarium has been also added as an entry in History and Myth. To complement the new chapter in the game's story, there's an appropriate entry in Lore section, although there really is not that much to read there, possibly to avoid spoiling the story of this new chapter to the players who haven't played it yet. A set of new battle awards were added to the game as well, and they are called Savior, Righteous Savior, Save It by Another, Archfiend Savior and Ally Savior. The new battle awards only apply to the Sanctuary missions and you cannot trigger them in any other pacts, as they are directly tied to the new story. Let's move to portraiture changes. The Select Offerings menu layout has been changed. This is one of those small yet huge improvements. Basically, now your offering list is no longer covered by a huge window containing the spell description. Instead, it was moved to the left side of the screen, so the list is now much more readable. A warning message will now appear when consuming boosted offerings in the Fuse offering menu. Basically, if you'll try to create a new spell using your last copy of another spell that has been upgraded, you will be warned about that fact in case you don't want to lose that boosted spell and have to grind for it all over again. I admit it happened to me in the past and I was very annoyed by that fact. Now we don't longer have to keep track of all our boosted spells anymore. You may now check offering rewards in addition to the packed title and monster name from the list of Phantom Quests. Use the triangle button to toggle the info. Now, this is some seriously huge improvement over the last version. Let's say you were looking for a very specific spell that is offered as a reward for completing certain quests. So before the change, you had to open each and every individual quest description to see what the reward was. Now you can actually do that just by checking the list of available pacts by pressing triangle a couple of times. The Sorcerer stat page was updated with 5 question mark slots. This one is pretty easy to figure out. These are just placeholders for the new Archfiends that will be introduced in the future DLC packs. Every monster up to Iron Maiden. Let's move to multiplayer updates, because this is one long list of changes. Starting from the top of the list, you can now check players' magic and life level from the online room list. This is a very welcome addition, as you don't have to enter the room just to see that players inside are not exactly up to par or way too high in levels. You can just browse the available rooms and see the levels there. Online room names can now be longer. Not only that, when you set up a room, you can now indicate which ages, as they call it, or just simply unpacked numbers you wish to tackle. You may now change an online room setting from within the room itself. Before the patch, to change the name, password or any other information about the room, you had to shout down the room, risking losing some of the players that were in it with you. It is very convenient to be able to just, do that from within the room itself. You may now check the pacts page from within an online room, even if you're not the host. Now, that's another handy thing. Before the change, only hosts could browse through the quests and select them. Now, obviously, still only the host can select the quests, but now everyone can browse the pacts and suggest them to the host. Added more quickly selectable phrases to use in the chat during quests. Now this one is pretty self-explanatory. Some phrases were added to the quick chat, so now you have more ways of communication with another players if you're not using voice chat, which is, as usual, very handy. Also, I've noticed that when you're using the quick chat in the lobby of the game, the messages that you could select from the list were organized better, so now you can access them quicker and in a way more efficient way. You may now check other players' details even after readying for a quest. This was a pain in the past, because if you chose to ready yourself for the departure, you could no longer inspect new arrivals for their setup. You no longer have to unready yourself to do this now. You can now skip the animation that plays at the start of a quest by tapping the screen. Well, this one doesn't really require explanation. The chat display will now open automatically when a joint cast spell or an area healing spell is initiated. This might be one of the most important changes to the gameplay, especially in multiplayer mode. I mean, only in multiplayer mode. Some spells in Soul Sacrifice either require other players' assistance or they work properly if players are standing next to you, like group heals. Before this patch, if you weren't playing with a bunch of friends using voice chat, it was pretty much futile to attempt any transformations or any other spells that you couldn't fire by yourself or could be beneficial to more players than just you. Now when you're trying to do something like this, a special colored chat message will show up on everyone's screen informing them about those things, and that message will stay on the screen as long as you're trying or as long as you're casting that certain group spell. When a joint cast spell or an area healing spell is initiated, all players will be notified with an icon. So in addition to the automated chat message, a special icon will appear over player's head, showing everyone who's exactly the one that needs or maybe offers assistance. In quest functionality, during quests, a compass will show the display of the general direction of enemies, allies and archfiends. Note that you can now clearly see your friends as white dots and archfiends as red dots on the compass. This is a huge improvement over the compass, which is no longer just a waste of screen space as before. You will now receive a notification when you become the new host in a new room. When the host of the room you're currently in suddenly disconnects during the game, that is, somebody else takes over and becomes a new host. It was like that from the very beginning when the game launched, but there was no clear indication of that other than the host tag over the player's avatar inside the lobby. Some people ignored that tag or just didn't notice it before, and now a huge pop-up window will inform you about that fact, so there is no longer any confusion about it. And that's it for the patch notes. Remember guys, go to your live screen area, update your game and be a happier Soul Sacrifice player. If you think I've missed something or if you have found some other changes that were not on the list, please let me know in the description and I'll try to add some captions to the video. Also remember to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel and see you in the next videos.